Good morning, good morning, good morning, my neighbors. How are y'all doing? Here's another segment of Before You Take the Trade. I am your host, I guess. That's how we're going to do this morning. JD the Great, welcome to another episode. Today is going to be very interesting because we're going to recap what happened yesterday and we're going to go ahead and kick the tires around the market and see where there's some other opportunities. So let's go ahead and get started. So you already know the first thing we're going to talk about is the NASDAQ. All right, so the NASDAQ has been making some very interesting moves. So let's go ahead and look directly into the chart. All right, so if you look at it, you'll see that NASDAQ actually came very close to breaking that imbalance that I was talking about. All right, there was a little bit of an imbalance that was left on the, I think this was the 1 hour. Let me bring this over. Yeah, there was a little bit of an imbalance that was left on the 1 hour. That's where I kind of had this order block sitting, and we hit the brakes right on it. Good morning, Casey. What's going on? All right, so you got a couple for us. I appreciate you. All right, so it looks like the way the market is operating right now, it's almost like as if they're thinking about letting it fall, but I think maybe Nvidia earnings anticipation is what's holding up the Nasdaq right now. So instead of just blasting all the way through and just continuing down and have a target of 17,227, they decided to kind of give it a little bit of a bounce right here, and we're probably going to get back up into this deeper area and then start to fall. But we'll see what happens because the market kind of recovered really deep throughout the day, and then we started giving it back up during the London session. So we'll see what happens with some of the reports that's coming out today. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about is oil. All right, so you already know crude oil has been on its way, trying to make its way back up to that $80 mark, but I think it's on its way to under $70. But overall, if we look at it from this perspective, it looks like a bear flag to a certain degree, but we'll see what the market does with it, because if you think about it, the market has a lot of I guess price sentiment trying to keep oil above that $70 mark. You can see right here we kind of had that bounce and bounce and bounce, but if this doesn't give you a full W type of recovery, maybe like a W pattern up in itself, let's see, I want to draw it like this, kind of something like this. Here's our center pivot, and then break through this point, which is about $94. I do think that some of the supporters here, and possibly those that are late that didn't take their profits here, are probably going to be like, okay, you know what, I'm going to wait for oil at a better price, which I think is that $70 mark. So looking for this to kind of break down, looking for 50% of the mark, which would be $61. I don't think we're going to get the full measure move of a full bear flag, bringing it under $50, but overall, I'm thinking about probably around $61, $62 when it's all said and done. All right, so let's go ahead and keep this going. We got gold. Gold is the next one that we're going to talk about. Gold is doing something very interesting. I did not expect gold to have the price action that it had throughout the day. Let me get to Wednesday. Where is it? Tuesday. There we go. All right, so we kind of was like drifting and dropping, and it looked like we was just going to continue down. And I think I kind of pointed out that there's a possibility that we'll just continue to that downside. But for some reason, the market decided, all right, you know what? I think gold gave enough, and they started pushing it back up. And I think with the push up that we're facing, it's almost like we got ourselves a nice little uptrend. Let me mark out these uptrends. I thought it was going to break down. So we got this one. This is from the cheat code algo, letting us know that this is an uptrend. Then we got ourselves a couple of deviations of this uptrend. Here's one. And what happens when we make a new higher high? This one right here is that new higher high. So now this is our support right here. So I'm very curious on how the market's going to react to gold where it is right now. Are they going to go ahead and let this thing start to take off? Maybe get back to that 2050. We have not been to 2050 ever since, well, we got close in Tuesday here. So maybe the 9th, that's when it was last week, Friday. So maybe this week we'll try to get all the way back up. But that is a major recovery after going basically 50 points down to the downside. So that said, I'm very curious on how they treat gold when it's all said and done. Are they going to give it a nice little opportunity to get back to that 2050, blast through, maybe even test that 2061, and then continue to the upside? I wouldn't say it will. That's one thing I probably would say, because at the end of the day, gold has been moving, and when I get to the dollar, I'll explain what I mean by that. All right, so let me go ahead and get into silver. So silver, on the other hand, is not as attached to gold as it. You could kind of see with this chart. It is inside of an imbalance. This is the imbalance that I talked about before. Had a nice drop, then we kind of got that little bit of a bounce. It did happen over here, but I thought we were going to come back and retest here, and silver was going to drag gold down with it. But you could kind of see that it did not do that. It is kind of continuing this move to that upside in itself. Oh, my music stopped. Oh, Lord. This is supposed to be playing in the background. Got to put the repeat on. All right, so if you kind of see, silver is kind of rejecting this little area, and if we get a nice little move from silver, then you'll start to see gold come back down. But the way gold is looking like they want to get back to 2050, I would say we're probably going to get ourselves a nice little move from silver and gold and push to the upside. So let's get into the other commodities, and I'll point out why I think that's going to happen. So here's the British pound, right? The British pound, when it's all said and done, it is starting to find that base. We're starting to create that channel. We're starting to look like we want to push back up. So looking at the British pound, and if it breaks some of these key levels here, it's probably going to make gold start to really start to take off. And that's what I'm thinking that's going to happen. But you can kind of see the chart looks very similar to gold. And so, right, nice little rise up and everything else. Let me come and bring this back up. Here's gold. Nice little rise up, but it's a little bit more aggressive. And then silver looks like a little bit of mirror of the British pound, right? So I'm thinking that this is probably what they're looking for, is a nice little push and a nice little pop up, and these are going to move up in sync with each other, and then it started to put some pressure over here on the dollar, which is going to make gold more valuable. Okay, so that's why I'm looking at British pound a little bit more tighter. I know I was a little loose because, well, you gotta remember the way the British pound kind of operated. It's kind of like attached to the market, and the way NASDAQ has been moving, NASDAQ was kind of detached from the British pound. So now I'm starting to look at where is this correlation, and it looks like it's inside of the commodities with the British pound. So let's just keep an eye on that. All right, so let's go ahead and get into natural gas. Natural gas, I did point out that there was a little bit of a space. I did not think they were going to fill it right then and there, but they did fill it yesterday, and you could kind of see on this chart that it filled it really, really clean. And now we're above the 200 EMA on the 1 hour. So nice little base that was formed right here. Nice little gap. And then we got ourselves a nice little pop-up that happened right here as the market closed. So this was between 4 and 5. So this was all that selling pressure, profit taken, and it took off. Got into the 200 EMA, and now we're above the 200 EMA on the 1 hour. If we get a golden cross here, I think we're going to put some pressure on some of these imbalances that's here. So keep an eye on natural gas. I think there's some good volatility here, and it's going to open some opportunities to make some money there. All right, the next one is the Russell. So the Russell has been doing its thing. We are dropping. It is leading us off, letting us know that the people are taking the money out of the market. They're looking to go ahead and cut, I guess probably cut their profits at this point. But if you look at how the Russell is moving, nice little base right here, it's going to have a tough time breaking that 2,000 mark. So that's why I'm thinking that today might be a green day after such an aggressive move to the downside for a lot of things in the market. So I'm looking for a bounce at the $2,000 mark, and then retest that bearish order block before it actually does that that death cross to the downside. So let's go ahead and look deep into it. So if you see right here, we got a nice little channel and a downtrend just pointing straight down, as if the market is going to just give it all away. But look at these buy-ups. I love these right here. This is why I'm thinking that the $2,000 level is going to be a tough area. We got all these buy-ups. We're making all these shadows, all these wicks, whatever you want to call it, right? So this is letting me know that this is an order block right here. So the only way we're going to blast through here, I would not be surprised if the market decided to push up, maybe here, then reject and get down to here, maybe here, then reject it down to here, but somewhere, maybe even here, right? They already know that people are anticipating to break of 2,000, so you're going to probably get some profit taken, some cool down, let buyers come in, and then the liquidation cycle could start, and then they start to try to push us into that 2,000 mark. Of course, when we get under 2,000, it's going to be tough. You got a couple order block sitting here. This is Wednesday, the 14th last week. You got a couple others, so you could kind of see this is a tough area for us to kind of break down and get below that 2,000 mark. All right, so let's go ahead and finish this off. Let's get into the dollar, right? The most infamous dollar, right? And the dollar is doing something that's very interesting, because I thought we got that nice little measure move for that inverse head and shoulder, and it looks like it's starting to give up some of that when it's all said and done. So that said, looking at this and looking at the daily, which kind of looks like that wide inverse head and shoulder, I am going to respect this inverse head and shoulder as long as we hold the support, right? So this is how you can put a test to your inverse head and shoulders. Also, the inverse head and shoulder works and operates very similar to a trend change, right? So you got yourself an inverse head and shoulders, basically this action to a downside, right? Got a nice strong impulsive move, probably the last leg, but then out of nowhere the market starts to react and recover. That's when you get where it's trying to test to get up here, but unfortunately it doesn't usually take the first shot. It usually takes the second shot to break out. So then you got your shoulder. It could be offsetting, it could be symmetrical, it could be anywhere, but it just cannot make a lower low, right? So let's just say it does something like this and then take off. That could be the possibility with a nice little neckline right here, and that could be the break. But for me to put a test to it, is this going to hold support? I will do this. Remember, it takes two touches to make a trend, so I want this trend to continue to on that shoulder, and it just does not break. All right, so that's what I'm going to be looking for with the dollar, to see if it's going to hold its level and continue to the downside. So let's go ahead and go back to the chart. You'll see we got this nice little uptrend that's happening here, right? But if we come in really close, this would be what would be considered a shoulder, right? What is happening? Looks like a break. It needs to hold this area. We're at a inflection point at this point where the market needs to make a decision on how they want to treat the dollar. If the dollar starts to lose strength right here, that inverse head and shoulder goes out the window. They make a wider inverse head and shoulder, maybe, but at the end of the day, they're about to test everything that it's made of right now, because this neckline was the break, and now we're under the neckline. So remember that yellow line I put? So this is our neckline. Bang. Oh, come on. There we go. Bang. All right. So now with this neckline looking like the way it looks like right now, we're under the neckline, right? So it's almost like it's rejecting it. We didn't get the full measure move of the inverse head and shoulder, which would have gave us like roughly 50% over here, or the 100% would have been all the way up to here. And now that we're breaking back under the neckline, that's not a good sign that it's going to have strength. And then also we are starting to break whatever uptrend that created it, that started to break through, and you can see the weakness here. You can see the weakness there. So I would say overall, here's our 2 hour. They're trying to give it a shot, and you can see we're under it. They're trying to get back up in there. So I would say, if anything, you know what, let's do this. Let me add an extra level. On the 2 hour, I need to see it above 104.222. That's the only way you're going to see the dollar actually rise up and then continue to that upside. Other than that, this thing's probably going to fall right out the roof and then start to go to the downside. All right. So that said, I think we covered everything. We already know where the market is going. That is my recap. Let me make sure I got all my charts ready for me to trade later on. All right, perfect. All right, so now let's go ahead and get into some tickers. Casey got a couple of tickers for us, and it's going to be very interesting because I see one of them that is one of the exchange market ones, which is CBOE. So let's go ahead and get the CBOE. I'm curious on why he's pulling on that one. I can't wait to see this chart. Let's see. CBOE. Okay. It looks like it's been on a run. Okay, I see where you're going with that on KC. Nice little curl up on the weekly. The only thing I'm paused at is this weekly is a little overjuiced. This thing can fall. Let's see. Interesting 2 hour. It's been running for a little bit. I would say, generally speaking, let me grab the daily back. Nice little move, nice little pop. It could be a play into the dividends are actually paid out because we're getting close to that ex-dividend date. You have an entry of 192.50. Good number. I like it. I would say for the most part, we already broke above the entry level at 186. So anything here is an opportunity to get in. Maybe get a retracement. Maybe even put a fib on here and get a little bit more of a retracement. Maybe like a 50%. So we're talking about 189. But either way, I think I like your 192.50. Looking for momentum. Let's see. Take profit $200. I could agree with that. That will take us to TP3. That's a good little move, and everything is pointing to that upside, and the CC swing is on the upside of the zero line. So that's a good sign too. Your stop loss, we're probably going to disagree. If I'm going to be at 192, then I don't need this thing coming back down to 188. But you got 187.50. It's not too far. Algo is telling us 178.69. I would not suggest that in that reform. I would say that 187 is good enough for me. I think so. All right, so that is CBOE. Looks good. DVD. Diebold. Are they the safe manufacturer? I feel like this is a name that's very electronic equipment and instruments. Security systems to financial, retail, commercial, government. Yes, it is. The offers. I didn't even know they had a ticker. All right. It offers services, value-added services, self-service software, self-service products, security solutions, including physical and electronic security. It operates through segments in Eurasia. I don't think I've actually seen that in a long time. Eurasia and Americas and retails. They're big. They are super big. Yes, they are. Diebold. Okay. All right. Let's see. We got ourselves an entry at 34.79. I think that's possible. I like that 34.79. Let's see. Stop loss 32.59, which will bring it to the entry, and then take profit 38. That'll take you to TP2. Even I would say go with the TP3, $40. Just a little $40, maybe even $39. I think that's a possibility. I think, is this all-time highs? Oh yeah, this is all-time highs. Oh yeah, so they are a new ticket. I was like, yeah, I didn't even know that they had a ticket. Yeah, they're old, but they're just now getting public. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do some. You know what? Put this on my red list. I'm curious about this one as well. Diebold. Okay, all right. I like this one. I like the movement, and since they are a new ticker and they're going to continue to all-time highs again, the market's probably going to just really soak up all the shares along the way because the money's just being tossed all over the place. All right, so yeah, this is a good one. I like it. All right, let's go ahead and continue. FERG. Ferg. Is this for Fergie? No, it is not Fergie. It is Ferguson. What do you do? Looks like some type of international player. They are based in the United Kingdom. Plumbing supplies, heating products, and professional service. Okay. All right. I don't know much about them, but this chart does look pretty for more upside. They have earnings that's coming up on March 5th, which is around the corner. So I would say be cautious with that. But it is triggering a buy signal right now. So I don't have a full-on answer for exactly what this will look like as far as by itself, but we can bring it over to the 4-hour and get a little bit of a sense of an idea. So entry 198, you have an entry at 203. I like it. Pre-market's pulling back, so maybe you could even go with a 4-hour move. I think this is still going to hold. Yeah, I think it's probably still going to hold. Take profit 219. I have 217, 218. That could be a nice little target right there. And in stop loss, you have 193. I like the 193. It does suggest for 191 to 192. 193 is not too bad. I would even go with like 195 psychological. Maybe start looking at that 193 a little interesting, but it should bounce on 195 if it ever got down that low. All right, so that is Ferg. Let's go with IBN. Not IBM, but IB Nancy. Icy Big? Icicle Bank? Oh, something. One of those things. All right, if you don't know Casey, Casey likes his small cap, so he's not really caring about the ticker per se. He just want to make sure that they have low float because it should have some momentum in it. So, all right, so you got this gap that's here, and it looks like pre-market they're going after that gap. So I will say, since you got momentum 25.96, look for that momentum to happen before you get into it. So this one, I would not care for the fact if I go to the 4-hour, we're already at entry and TP1. I agree with you. This thing needs to show me that it's going to continue in this direction before I go up there. If not, you could get a nice little entry at $25 if you're going to go ahead and get the retracement, get the bounce, and let this thing kind of curl up if it shows you signs on your entry to continue to that upside. Take profit. Take profit is at 33.19. Let me go over to the weekly for that. 33.19. I would say that's aggressive. Don't go past 30. It looks like the momentum does not give it a lot of weight to carry that far, especially not on the weekly. And in your stop loss, you have 21. Too far. I would say let's go with 23.68. Let's go with this 4-hour one. Let's go with 23.68. And then $30. That should minimize your exposure, get you close to that 2-to-1 because we're lowering the stop loss and we're lowering the target at the same time. So let me know how that works out for you. All right. Next one is VIST. VIST. All right. So VIST, another international play. Let's get over to the daily. This thing has been taken off. $32 was a good entry right there. You have an entry at 35.63. It'll get you above that TP. So I would say if it holds above TP1, then you could try to play it for the rest. Target $38, attainable. Stop loss 32.83. That will bring you back over to the entry. So yeah, I do like this one. Actually, let me put this on the red list. I'm curious of how that works out on the daily, and we'll see how far it goes. But this one does look good for some upside because we just got our buy signal on. It's pointing straight up. And let me see the weekly. Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, I kind of like it for more momentum. Get into that $40 mark. I think they want that level. All right, so last one before we get out of here. TRV. Travelers Company. Is that their insurance company? That sounds like their name. Let's see. Yep, multi-line insurance. Travelers Company, blah, blah, blah. Casualty insurance, insured bonds, blah, blah, blah. Out of New York. Yep, Travelers. That's the one with the little umbrella. Oh, there it is. The logo is right there on the top corner. Little umbrella company right there. This thing's been running for a while. I don't know, Casey. I don't know about this one. I don't know. Okay, let's do it like this. Nice momentum, nice to the upside. It looks like a monthly type of play. I would say for the most part, maybe go with something like, oh, you're very welcome. Go with something like entry 221, you said. I would say, yeah, 221, not too bad. First TP will bring you to 228, but buy a lot of time. Buy so much time that this is probably going to be a lead play, maybe even 2 years out. The reason why I'm saying that is because you're going to get less impact and it's probably going to affect you a little bit less. Maybe scalp it for some moves because it looks like these dailies is just parabolic at this time and almost impossible to kind of look at the levels. But with this monthly, it looked like party just started. Had a nice deep consolidation here. This is the recovery from the pandemic, but they just could not explode. And it could be some earnings reports that's saying that. So I would say look into the fundamentals. But I love these imbalances, and I just want to ride these imbalances. So you got one here. Let me change this up. Nah, lordy. Hold on. Let me go go back to the daily. I can see this. I gotta change my templates, settings, visibility, even months. All right, that. Okay, perfect. And let me just do save as. That way I can solve this issue. All right, so that's one good one right there. And there's a good one right here. And there's a good one right here. Of course, this is not official because we haven't closed this week out, but it looks very strong. So there's a lot of supporters for Travis right now. A good amount of them that is basically pushing in a total of $37 to the north side. So I don't think they're taking profits, at least not yet. But if you do get a red candle on the monthly, it shouldn't affect you too bad because you got so much time. And then that next green candle should be the explosion to that upside. That is what I'm thinking. But again, this one is going to be a little tough because you want to catch leaps at their beginning. So that means you want to kind of catch it here or somewhere in the middle of the first or second candle. So I would say maybe wait for a pullback or get prepared to scale in. So go with a light position and let the market come to you. All right. But yeah, but for the daily at this point, I do think it needs some sense of reset. You could kind of see it's already putting in that divergence. We talked about divergence before. We got ourselves a nice little upside here, bang, and then if I bring the oscillators back in, you start to see we got this. I don't think it's gonna get all the way back up there, so it's gonna curl somewhere around here. The stochastic already flirted with one, and we're getting deep into the reversal box. So this one is not telling me it's ready for more upside. It's almost like it's running out of steam and it needs to find supporters. All right. On that note, thank you very much for taking the time and enjoying another Before You Take the Trade analysis. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and DM me on Discord. That's JD_the Great. Also, I have my Instagram, Twitter, all of it down there. JD_the Great as well. If you don't have a trading community and you want to join the trading community and learn from learning coaches just like me, you can go ahead and click the link down below and it's going to lead to our community as well. You don't need to trade by yourself. So yeah, we had some very, very good price action yesterday. I do not have a futures floor open today, but we have another coach that's going to open one today. I got a whole bunch of errands to run. But yes, at the same time, I want to say thank you, my neighbors, for taking the opportunity for you to learn a lot here. You're very welcome, Casey. And on that note, I bid you farewell and great profits to all my neighbors out there. So enjoy your day and happy trading. Later.